People love conspiracies. They love a good conspiracy theory
I can't.
with the conspiracies.
The things that they say about Israel, I can't because I was there. I saw it. Like, I mean, I didn't like I saw the aftermath, like leaving my house after those 3 days and like driving down the street and like you just see all the shattered cars on the sides. You see where the rockets fell. You see it. Like my eyes are not an AI. I see it with my own eyes.
So feel me when I bring it, singing loud. I'm from the loot and I'm proud. Run a mile for the cause. I'm right.
Hi, guys. It's your girl, Nachama, your favorite Jew from the Lou. Welcome back to my podcast. And today we have a really special guest all the way from Israel. Welcome, Devorah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, we're actually in a different location. You guys may not recognize it as much, but we are in Hannah's basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hannah is a really good friend of mine. We went to school together forever. And Devorah, I've known forever too. But I feel like it's one of those weird St. Louis things, which I talked about with Etty Graf like a few episodes ago, where it's like you're in St. Louis and you know everybody, but you also don't know anybody anymore.
Well, also it's been I feel like I haven't seen you since Torah Prep since I've been in Torah Prep.
I think you might be right because you didn't go to Beis Yaakov, really. You switched.
Right. So that's why it's like specifically you. I was thinking about it when you were over here on Shabbat the other week. I was like, oh, I haven't seen her since like Torah Prep. That's like a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. We've also changed a lot,
Yeah.
both of us.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I didn't know you all that much
That's true.
to know that you changed.
I know that I've changed. I'm assuming you've changed. I'm assuming you're not the same 14. You're
My memory from Torah Prep is with your mom is stealing gushers in first grade from Alicia Grimberger's lunch.
Oh my gosh, really?
That's my memory. That's like my biggest memory from first grade.
I have one memory of you from Torah Prep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what is that?
We were, I forgot her, Mrs. Rosenberg, I think. We were in sixth grade, and you were telling her how you really wanted to be a lawyer.
That's so funny.
It's one of those
So funny. I
random,
didn't know I
wild
wanted to be a
memories.
lawyer.
We all wanted to be everything at one point or another.
That's so funny that like you remember that. I didn't remember that.
I don't know why, but I just have I really remember where we were when we said it.
So funny. And look where I am today.
Not a lawyer.
Not at all. Not even close.
Yeah. So I was going back and forth in my head if I wanted to talk about this conversation because it is definitely like a hot topic, and I haven't really gotten political and talked about Israel at all.
It is a
But
hot topic.
it's a very hot
Especially
topic.
here in America. It's like a
Yeah, it's a cancel me or follow me kind of topic. And probably I would be canceled before I would be followed based on it. But it's my podcast.
right. You can talk about whatever you want.
We still have freedom of speech, so why not? And I think hearing your perspective, I think would be a lot more interesting because you live in Israel. You were right there when it happened, not at the music festival, but you were,
And stay
yeah, in Sderot. And I don't think a lot of people understand what happened. All they know is now there's just this huge fight pretty much between like the Arab world and the Jewish world, and everyone doesn't know what to believe.
people don't know what to believe because the news feeds everyone a bunch of false information. Obviously, I don't follow the news. I can't. It gives me a lot of anxiety from both sides. The American side, people just making up so many stories. In fact, I saw a post. Someone posted that we made up the entire thing. There was no attack. There was no party. No one died. No one was kidnapped. We made up the entire thing, and it's like, how is that even possible that anyone can believe that?
Hmm.
It's really scary.
Yeah, I've had conversations with people where they were like, "Oh, it's AI generated." That's the newest thing. It's like it's AI generated, and I'm like,
If if that was AI generated, who says that what they're posting isn't AI generated?
well, that's the whole thing. Because you have to understand, I've come to realize, in my humble opinion, I think that there's three sides that people take if they have like a strong opinion. There's if you're pro-Israel, you're pro-Palestine, or if you're America.
Really? You think America has its own?
100%.
And what are they pro?
They're pro not getting involved in another country's issue.
I see.
Let everyone over there figure it out. They feel like enough soldiers have been involved, not just like in the Israel war, but just in the Middle East in general.
I mean, I kind of feel that too.
Really?
Not about Israel, the rest of the world.
That the rest of the world should like kind of stay in their lane and stay out of it.
Everyone talks about what's happening in Saudi Arabia or happening in
Ukraine, Russia.
yeah, all these things that they don't have anything to do with my life. So, I mean, you figure out your war. I'm not going to take sides. Obviously, like the war in Ukraine, I fed into whatever the media in Israel was feeding us, which was Russia's has going at war. Russia is going to war against Ukraine and how terrible Russia is, and Russia and Russia and Russia, and everyone hates Russia. So that was like just because that's what I heard and saw. So that's what I believed, but I don't have a real like a opinion or also just doesn't affect my life. So
You're not from Ukraine. You're not living there, right? You're not living in Russia.
exactly. So it's like their life, their situation, their stay in their lane.
I mean, that's why I kind of understood people who are like just from the US and aren't really tethered to either side. I kind of understood that perspective. And I actually really appreciate and respect the people who are like, listen, I just don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
And they don't, and I
I
think
appreciate
that's
that more.
okay.
I appreciate that more than all these people were posting all eyes on Rafa. Tons and tons of people I follow are just posting all eyes on Rafa. All eyes on Rafa and what?
Yeah.
We're like, based on what? You haven't posted or said anything about the war up until now. Now all eyes on Rafa.
Yeah.
That was like I saw a lot of people got into that trend without knowing.
They did. Just reposting a really powerful AI generated image that they saw. And then, yeah. Yeah. And the problem is, I actually even just saw a TikTok about this recently, just in general, about how like the algorithms are so smart nowadays with AI, going back to AI, that it actually feeds you what you want to see. So I think it was like this video about this girl who was talking about like her boyfriend that he wasn't doing things around the house. And so all the comments that she was reading on this video were talking about like if only he would help out, like, why don't men understand? And it was, like, basically just reaffirming her. And then he showed her the video on his phone, and all the comments were, "What, like, we don't work all day? Can't we just get a girl who's not nagging us for once?" And they had, like, custom
The
tailored
exact same
comments.
video
Exact same video.
was terrifying.
So it just makes you think. So it's like whether you're pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, you're really only going to be fed what you're already kind of geared towards around. So if you have friends who are really pro and you guys are like sharing certain videos, whatever side it is, you're really only going to see that information. And then you know how it is. People see something visually, especially if they don't actually know what's happening, then they think they understand what's happening. And
Wait, but are you talking about like TikTok?
yeah, because a lot of people get their news on TikTok.
Oh, okay. So I actually went through a rabbit hole on TikTok for a while,
Really?
but on Instagram it didn't happen like that.
Really?
On Instagram, like, cause I obviously I'm pro-Israel. I live there. But on Instagram, I have tons of people that I've been following for years who started posting tons of things against Israel. It wasn't like,
Oh no, you see everything. But like in your general, just if you're scrolling on like the Instagram Reels, the algorithm will gear things more towards what your interests are.
oh, okay, yeah, I don't do a lot of scrolling on the reels. That's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is a rabbit hole. They call it the doom scroll.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I spent so many hours after the war started on TikTok. Wow. All the horrible stories, like one after another. And like you just can't stop.
Right. Well, the crazy thing is that like terrorism and war isn't anything new to Israel.
No, but this is a whole new level.
I remember where I was when we found out about this because I was here. And it happened over like Sukkot.
Right.
And so it was like we still weren't on our phones. I was here actually by Hana.
Oh, on that Shabbat?
On that Shabbat, I was here. And then like afterwards we turned on our phones because forgot those of you who don't know, anyone who's friends, yeah, I'll just do my little thing because I have non-Jewish followers too. So anyone who knows me personally knows I always tell people I go off the grid whenever it's like a Jewish holiday or Shabbos, we turn off our phones. So what happened is everything that went down originally on October 7th, we didn't know about because we were off our phones. And so then turning our phones on after Shabbos, especially because It had already been over.
Sunday night when you guys turned your phones back on because it was a 2-day Chag.
You're right. But the point was, is Israel's 8 hours ahead. So you guys were already like into the thick of it. Everyone's already caught up.
By the time you guys found out, it was Monday morning.
Right. We turn on our phones and all of our friends and family from Israel is like flooding us, like telling us what's happening. We see what's happening on the news and we're just like, we didn't even know. We didn't even know how bad it was. Because it was, even the news didn't have all the numbers yet.
But if you were here, that means Daniel knew. Daniel didn't tell you guys?
Yeah, but it was like the last hour. It wasn't, he did. He did tell us, but we didn't know what was happening at the same time. Like,
What did he say?
we knew something was happening.
Because I actually texted Daniel that Shabbat.
Well, he was like, oh my God. He was like, there was an attack. We didn't know what that meant.
Oh, that was all he said?
Well, yeah, but that's all we were like. We're like, what do you mean there's attack? There's like, I think he was like, there was like 107 people at the time that initially.
That what? Infiltrated?
Yeah, we didn't know. It was
It was like, it was like 3,000.
yeah, once they got all the numbers together. But in the beginning, it was just like chaos. Like,
Oh my gosh, it was so chaotic. It was, do you know that the scariest part, well, there was a lot of scary parts, but one of the scariest parts was at some point there was no service. And not only was there no service, we didn't have any police to even call because they destroyed the police station.
oh, right.
So that was like really a free for all. There's like what do you even do? Who do you even call? Who do you get help in case you need help? There's just nobody.
Right.
That was a really helpless feeling. That was a really like that moment. It wasn't a moment. It was hours, but it was terrifying. It was really, really scary.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit because I feel like we just threw like a dumpster fire on like what happened. Maybe that's what it felt like. It did feel like a dumpster fire and like no one really knew what was happening. But from your experience, like paint us the picture of like what happened from your experience.
Okay, so Saturday morning we woke up at like 6:30 because my kids woke up. We were playing in the living room on the floor. And then there started to be sirens. We only have about 7 to 10 seconds to run to our shelter when we hear a siren. So I grabbed the kids and my husband and we ran to the shelter.
And your husband, sorry, I thought that was funny.
Well, he fell asleep. He fell back asleep on the couch. So he was like all disoriented and um he just like went. He didn't he was basically he was really disoriented when it happened because it was totally unexpected. And it was super random, like 6:30 on a Saturday morning is not like a usual time that we've had rockets. Our rockets are very usually like the same times.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Usually like at 9 o'clock at night. Those are like their times where like, hi, we're still here. We just want to remind you that we can still throw rockets. That's how it's been for the past couple of years. Anyway, so we went to a shelter and there's more and more and more and more and more sirens and they're not stopping and we hear the explosions, we hear the sirens and my husband's like, this isn't normal. Something's happening. Like this doesn't usually happen just cuz. There's usually a reason behind it. Someone was killed, they're mad about something else. It's not based off of nothing. And then my husband's not religious, so he went and got his phone right away. Well, he wasn't religious, now he is. He went and got his phone, he turned it on, and also the news didn't say anything. Usually when there's sirens, it's like posted on the news. This was nothing. No one even talked about the rockets. No one talked about sirens for a good half an hour. There was nothing in the news. And now we're still hearing tons and tons and tons and tons of rockets. And then when they started talking on the news, they started saying there was an infiltration. And I saw pictures of the infiltration were like they like flew in on parachutes, hundreds of them in the beginning. Basically, a lot of them came like that, and I was like, "That's so scary." They came into Israel in like a second, and my husband's like, "It's fine. Don't even worry about it. Even if they infiltrated Israel, it takes a long time to get to Sderot, or the city that we live in." I was already freaking out, but he's like, "There's no way they would arrive all the way here in Sderot. It's like a couple minutes drive." And it was a couple minutes later, it was posted on the news. It was a white pickup truck.
Okay, yeah.
A white pickup truck on our main street with all the terrorists sitting inside and their guns pointed in all directions. Like a whole bunch of them sitting. And then that's when I really, really freaked out.
Did you see?
No, I saw the picture.
Like you were
We were in our shelter. We did not leave the shelter at all. We didn't leave the shelter for 3 days because it was just terrifying. because also there were terrorists around for 3 days
Right.
until they got out to everybody.
So in the shelter, just out of curiosity, like, was there a bathroom in there?
No,
There's no bathroom. So you didn't go to the bathroom for 3 days.
no. Well, we went outside to go to the bathroom. The shelter's in my house.
Okay.
That's a really important thing to point out because in like Ashkelon, the city over, next city over, their shelters are like in the basement of an entire building.
Oh, wow.
So everyone has to go all the way down. Like this in stereo, because we only have 7 to 10 seconds, everyone has to shelter inside their house. So you can walk in it now. It's not a big deal to walk in and out of it. But the kids stayed inside. I stayed inside most of it. I only went left to go to the bathroom. My husband, I was not managing, let's just say. My husband went out. He was the one who got us food,
Wow.
took care of us, fed us. Anyways, and then the news started talking. The things that we're talking about in the news was in the beginning, what the news reporters were saying we're getting texts from all these people in the Yeshuvim. They're asking for help, asking to be saved because no one was coming to save anyone. I don't know what happened there. I really don't. It's really hard to understand. From my like what I assume or think or any of that is that they came and they attacked so quickly. Let's say like this is Gaza, let's just say, and then they like came into Israel and they just attacked and killed everyone, all the bases, all the people who were in charge of looking at the cameras. They killed all the cameras. They broke all the cameras. They killed all these people who were kidnapped or whatever it was that they did. And then no one else knew what was happening. Like they just didn't know what was happening because all the people who would report, they're gone. And this was really quick that it happened, and and everyone was so surprised. No one had no. Oh yeah, someone had an idea because there's no way no one had any idea of what was going to happen. They wouldn't have been able to do this, but and I think that's what happened is that no one knew, and then by the time anyone figured it out, no, it was just a huge chaotic mess.
Mm-hmm.
So on the news, there were just the people who were reporting and getting the phone calls, come save us, because no one else was answering the people who needed to be saved phone calls. And there's no police, no one was answering. They went to the news. And I forgot the guy's name, but we have like a specific news reporter who's always been reporting for all the wars, for all the action that happens in Sderot. And he's like, I'm just getting texts. People are just crying for help. Just come save me. They're in my house. And then like a little bit later, he's like, and they just stopped answering me. These people are just stopping to answer me because they were killed. It was terrifying. It was literally terrifying. And the WhatsApp groups in Stera were like, oh, I hear them on this street. Oh, I hear them on this street. Oh, I hear them on this street. We kept getting texts from the city. Don't leave your houses. Don't leave your shelters. There's infiltration. There's terrorists coming around, like around Stera. It was really, really scary. I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was in my shelter again, so I didn't leave the room. I did not look out the window. I did not. All I heard was sirens, rockets, explosions, and a lot of gunfire. But other than that, I did not see anything, which is, thank God. I think that's really traumatic. A friend of mine lives right across the street from the police station, and her husband was like, her and her kids were inside the shelter, but her husband was sitting and he was looking out the window. And he literally just saw. He just saw people drive up and be shot, and like that was it. It's really scary. It was really, really scary. I just kept thinking, like, God forbid they come to my door. Like, what do you even do? There's nowhere to call for help. There's nowhere to hide, nowhere to run.
Do you have like any guns or anything to like no.
When it gets not only that, I live in a building that there's no secure. Like, you can just the door's open. You can just walk right in.
Right. I feel like after this, everyone in Israel should be carrying an armed something just to protect yourself.
Yeah, but the laws of using your gun in Israel is so iffy.
Mm,
Like, I don't know if you know, like, people use a gun for, self-protection,
yeah.
and then they get called out like, oh, well, you didn't use it correctly. Oh, you should have warned them first. Oh, you should have this, and then end up going to jail. It's like, it's really, I don't know. It's just also really scary to have in a house with kids.
That's true too.
It's really scary. And in my mind is like, if you have a gun in your safe and it's an emergency, no one has the time to run and go get it.
Well, I will say, like in the US, like a lot of Jews who ever since October 7th happened have felt unsafe. So they've been taking like classes to learn how to handle like a firearm. And a lot of people conceal their firearm and they just wear it all the time.
So my husband doesn't want that responsibility.
I mean, that's fair. It is fair. You don't realize it until you've held a gun, but like I went to like a shooting range once and holding that gun, I just remember like the responsibility of just
Holding it.
knowing what it can do. And it's so much heavier than you would expect it to be.
That too.
Because like in the movies, I mean, they're all like fake guns and toy guns. And they hold them like it's nothing, you know?
Yeah, I held Daniel's gun.
Yeah,
It's heavy.
it is.
You know what's really scary? And I was like, I freaked out. I really, really freaked out. It terrified me. I don't want that in my house. I don't want that responsibility. I don't want that scenario. I don't want anything. I don't want it. I don't want it.
That's totally fair. But at the same time, that does leave a lot of civilians, like you said, in a lot of danger if there's no one to protect them. And I think there's just so much about like Israeli culture that even like I went to Israel once for like 3 weeks.
Oh, you've only been there once?
Just once.
Oh my gosh, you didn't go to seminary?
I didn't go to seminary. I went when I was 19 as a nanny.
What'd you do after high school then?
I went straight to college.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. My parents couldn't afford seminary.
Oh, no one can afford seminary. It's all based on scholarships.
But the problem was is I only applied to one seminary.
And you didn't get in?
I got in. And I ended up being the only girl enrolled for some reason that seminary closed. Isn't that wild?
You were the only one enrolled.
Uh-huh. There was other girls who got in, but for whatever reason, they decided to go to other seminaries. And so they closed.
That's so
I
weird.
think it was called Halifos Besiakov.
Oh,
It was like a small seminary. It was in Ramat Beit Shemesh.
it is so weird.
And
It's so creepy, kind of.
well, yeah.
Like, ooh.
And then at that point, it was so late in the year that it was almost impossible to get me into another seminary. But also, like, I heard my parents talking about how they were going to pay for it. Even like, because they want you to contribute at least something.
I went to seminary. I got in a week before.
Yeah.
Someone else scholarship the entire thing.
I know a lot of people do that, but I'm telling you, it was one of those wild things that it just didn't work out for me. I don't know why. So I guess I just wasn't meant to go
I guess not. I mean, you can always still go.
to Israel.
And seminary. You don't have to go to seminary that's like right after high. There's seminaries, there's 10 different kinds. So like Neve is not for 20-year-olds.
Right? True.
I went to Neve also.
I think I'm kind of past that stage in my life, to be fair. I'm 28.
My friend was just in Israel. She's my age or a year older than me. Just last year, she came to seminary.
Yeah.
She just needed like a restart and a refresher, and I think it actually did her really good.
Hmm.
Yeah, really interesting. She came to Jerusalem.
Sometimes you need that. Yeah. I will say though, what I think is wild about Israel in general is just the fact that Israelis are so cool to me. How they like live in this state of chaos that would wet the pants of any American. Dude,
It's true. It's true though.
you're so calm. And I know you weren't calm when it was happening, I'm sure, especially considering like you have two little girls that you were protecting.
I was like shitting myself the whole time. I wasn't like screaming and crying hysterically.
But look at you now, able to be here on a podcast, just like not even a year later, and you're able to talk about it.
I was always able to talk about it.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, and even like those who were kidnapped and then rescued, they're still
Oh, those people. I can't even I don't even know how they do it, and they do it so bravely. They just talk about their story
yeah.
to the entire world.
What's crazy, we were talking about this, is how each of their stories, like their experiences are different. Because some of them have horrific stories of what happened to them. And some of them, I mean, no one wants to be kidnapped, but like some of them, they were just more of like what's the right word? Indentured slaves or something. Like they had to do like housework and were housed and treated like guests, I guess.
Right.
It's such a weird thought.
It's very weird. It's very confusing.
It's like so organized and yet so chaotic at the same time.
It's really confusing though, and I know I think about it a lot what it does to the media outside of Israel. Like they're gonna believe one story and they're not gonna believe the other story because like, oh, look how well they treated her, and then there's someone else is saying, well, they raped me.
But even so, even if, let's say, for the sake of this conversation, they were all treated well, in what world is it okay to kidnap someone and keep them in your home to do chores for you?
Yeah,
Like, even that alone,
and the entire world knows about it,
it's wild.
and people are saying it's not true. It's wild. It's mind blowing. It's like your mind doesn't grasp the concept that like this exists in the world. This evil exists in the world.
That's the problem with a lot of the Americans who are like rallying about this is that we live such a privileged life.
Oh my gosh. It's so true. It's so, and I felt that right when I came here in this trip. It was like I came in, I'm like, it's so quiet. It's so peaceful. Like it's like you just don't even know anything's going on in the rest of the world. Like you don't.
No, no, you don't. And so therefore you think everyone thinks like you think. You think that everyone views what's right and wrong like you do. You think everyone has the same morals that you do. And it's so far from the truth. I mean, like, let's say, for example, Americans think that,
Like the whole world is peaceful and
believe
nothing's actually happening.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they think it's all a plan. They think it's all a ruse to, I don't know, make the elections go a certain way. Everything all comes down to the elections. Everyone's like, oh, it's just that we'll vote for this candidate. And it's like, get over yourselves. There's things that happen in the world, and people love conspiracies. They love a good conspiracy theory
I can't.
with the conspiracies.
The things that they say about Israel, I can't because I was there. I saw it. Like, I mean, I didn't like I saw the aftermath, like leaving my house after those 3 days and like driving down the street and like you just see all the shattered cars on the sides. You see where the rockets fell. You see it. Like my eyes are not an AI. I see it with my own eyes.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm sure there was friends that you've lost.
I'm not close friends. People I knew. I knew a lot. I knew a couple of the policemen that were killed. One of them was my neighbor. Um, I've seen them around a whole bunch of times. Like I know who they are, but it uh, it's just mind-boggling that people can say it's not true. It's made up. There's a woman I follow. I followed. I unfollowed her because I couldn't handle her stuff anymore. But she was posting like, oh, it's all made up, and she's so angry about it. And when's Memorial Day weekend?
It was like in May.
It's in May. Okay, there's some other weekend. Oh, it was I don't remember. Veterans Day, maybe.
Okay, yeah. That was earlier in November.
Yeah, so Veterans Day in her kid's school, and this was after America agreed to help Israel with the war. And she was so angry. She's like, I'm not going to send my kids to school to support the America and the army. Look what they're doing, supporting Israel. I'm not even. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, what? Why? Like, what does it even matter to you? Why are you so.
That's the privilege I'm talking about.
It's just like, it's so stupid.
It's the privilege I'm talking about. It's like the idea that they think that they know what's going on over there based on news or TikToks that they've seen, and like going back to like those who were kidnapped and how the stories are so vastly different from brutal to just weird, random, like servants almost. I feel like that's almost intentional.
That they did it like that to confuse. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's intentional.
I thought it just depended on who took them.
What their morals and values were, you're saying? Like,
Yeah, because also the day of the attack. you hear some horrific stories of what they did to kids, and then you hear stories of they saw the kids and they just left them.
That could be too.
And you can actually, actually watched some videos of the actual terrorists talking about what they did, and it's like it was just very interesting to hear. I don't know, there was also a whole episode of these two boys who were the terrorists came into their home and shot their father, and how they just were like trying to have a conversation with these terrorists, and they just had a conversation and left these boys. It's just like it's really confusing to try to understand like who are these people and what are they made of, because there's just a huge variety. I kind of just assumed it was either, like you said, morals, or some people were just on insane drugs and some people were on less insane drugs.
Because I mean,
Also, a lot of them were civilians.
right. The thing is, you have to think about the kind of person it would take to do these acts, like the dark places that you would have to go to.
How?
I do think, though, the way it works is once someone has done one terrible act, I think it becomes easier, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but this is not like I stole once, I can steal again.
No, 100 no, no one's saying that, for sure not. But I'm saying, like, that combined with they did say that, like, even going back to, like, the Holocaust, there were certain drugs that, like, the Nazis were given to be able to help them to do those acts. Yeah, because again, like, it's just a warped power where it's like your life or my life kind of thing. Because that's very much how it goes, you know?
But their life wasn't in danger.
Their life wasn't in danger
They
because
came from their own home.
right, but what threats did they get to do it or not do it? Do they have a choice?
Are you talking about Hamas terrorists or are you talking about Nazis?
Both, honestly.
They signed up to be a soldier. No one, no one's saying come be a terrorist today and now.
Right.
They sign up because it's all out of hate. They all want to.
It's also infiltrated into the civilian culture, though, too. It's not like one separate from the other.
I just think that a lot of civilians are just also terrorists.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think all the civilians are terrorists, but I think that a lot of civilians are, and they just say they're civilians.
Oh, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Well, we know this to be true because they found so many tunnels under like schools, homes.
Yeah. Those videos are really
It's disturbing. I feel like it was just hard for me too, and the reason why like I was going back and forth whether I wanted to talk about this or not was because like in the beginning I was very much like pro sharing, and then after a while, I actually didn't lose that many followers considering, which is impressive.
yeah, that is impressive. I just assume that feel like everyone just hates Israel. Like I walk around here and I'm like, people are so, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "From Israel." Like, and I like shy away when I say it. Like, don't kill me.
You just never know.
Yeah, you never know who's gonna respond to you and what their values and ideas and opinions are.
Yeah. And so I think I don't know, but after a while I realized my followers fall into like a few categories. If they're pro-Israel, I'm not telling them anything they're not already seeing and knowing and believing. If they are pro-Palestine, they probably aren't looking at my stuff or following me anymore anyways. And and they're definitely not going to change their mind if they're very like pro something. And if they just simply don't know, they probably felt how we all felt when we saw everything with Ukraine and Russia, where we're like, oh, that's so sad. I have to go. Do you know what I mean? Because this is the thing that I think about so like that's the thing about life.
Like you said, I prefer that.
100%
I prefer someone say that instead of doing their stupid all eyes on Rafa.
as if they know. Yeah. Because the thing is
Like Kim Kardashian posting all eyes on, I don't even know if Kim Kardashian posts, or all these famous people. Like, you don't know anything that's going on.
right, they just have the platform. They
Yeah, and that is a lot of power and a lot of influence. And why would you be posting something like that without voicing your actual opinion or
It's okay to say you don't know.
Yeah.
I think we live in a world where people feel like they need to have an opinion, and I think it's okay to say, "I don't know." And I think it's okay to also say, "I don't wanna talk about it," even if you have an opinion, because everyone was so like, "Oh, well, go educate yourself," or whatever. But it's like maybe they have already, and maybe their opinion just doesn't match yours, and maybe they just don't wanna share it because that's not what their platform's about. You don't have to be political.
I'm super non-political. I'm so non-political.
Usually I'm not either.
Politics, I think it's just
The other thing is that, if you think about it, there's so many big world events happening at once in the world. Israel and Gaza is not the only thing that is going on in the world right now.
and the amount of media time that we've gotten, and like there's other wars going on. There's genocide happening all over the world.
Ukraine and Russia still happening.
Genocide. What's happening here isn't even genocide,
No.
and it's still like the hot topic.
Right. Right. And then also not even that, like even within the US, there's still so much going on what with the economy and then also with illegal immigrants. And it's just there's so many things going on. That can be talked about. And then there's your own personal shit show of a life where there's like what you're dealing with on a daily basis. And so, you look back on history and you're like, why didn't more people help out when, bad things happen? There's a lot going on. There is always a lot going on in the world and in your personal life.
The world is just a shit place.
Yeah, but it's also wonderful.
Yes, that is definitely true.
There's both
But
sides.
there's so much evil.
There is.
There's so much evil. I think about it a lot, the amount of evil. And all these little kids are growing up into like this world, and I feel like the evil is just consuming everyone.
But on that note,
That's what, wait, sorry to cut you off. It's what's talked about. The evil is what's talked about 99% of the time. Obviously, there's these beautiful stories and heartwarming stories, and like all that happen in the news too. But like,
because it's the shock value. The shock value. We all love a little gossip. We all love to be like, oh my God, what's happening? What happened to them?
it's not evil.
Evil exists on all levels. But that's what I'm saying. So that's why what makes the news is all the horrific things that happen. Because the shock value is like, oh my God, what's happening in the world? What are people doing? What are people saying? It shocks you. But like on that note, another thing I really wanted to talk about was one of the cool things about us connecting on your trip this time was getting to see you as a mom.
Thank you.
Speaking of kids, we're totally gonna be like shifting onto like a totally different note here for a moment. But like honestly, I don't have any kids yet.
Yeah,
I would love to be a mom one day.
best recognition.
Thank you. Amen. But I will say that, like, I'll just think with kids, I hear moms and dads complain so much about their spouses, about their kids, about the daily responsibilities. It has made me feel so averse to like wanting to be a mom and wanting to be a wife to the point where it's like I would be this romantic. I'd be like so excited to be a mom and so excited to be a wife, and people would be like, wow.
You just wait.
You just wait. Let me tell you, it's not everything you think it is. And it's like, I get it. Life is a reality. I'm not dumb. Like, let me dream a little bit.
Before you pop your balloon. Also, let you experience it.
Literally. And, my mom also says something that I love, which is their story doesn't have to be your story. You know?
And you don't have to be a miserable wife and a miserable mom.
You don't. And you're the second person in my 28 years who I met who was just like so in love with being like a wife and a mom.
Aw,
Second person.
that's such a compliment.
It is a compliment, but it's also really
I'm so happy. Well, that is definitely true. But I'm so happy that's like the vibe that like you got.
I did.
I'm happy that like it still gives hope that like happy moms exist.
Seeing you talk about like enjoying being pregnant, enjoying like your relationship, enjoying like your kids and being a mom, are there challenges in all those areas? For sure, that's part of life. But overall, like you wouldn't trade it for the world.
No, I love being a mom.
And I could see that. That is so cool and so exciting. And
I'm happy.
I like to see that more, you know? I think people should talk about that more.
It's funny that you say that because I have a friend of mine who told me that. I think I told you this. I don't remember, but a friend of mine was telling me we were talking when she was pregnant or before she got pregnant. And I was telling her again how much I loved being pregnant and I loved the whole process, like from beginning, well, I was gonna say to end, but not really to till now. The whole pregnancy process, I just loved all of it. And she was so relieved talking to me because she's like, she only hears negative experiences, how hard it is, how terrible, how exhausted, how sick, however, all the negative things that come with pregnancy. And she was just she would just drink up everything I had to say about loving being pregnant. And it made her really, really excited.
And it should.
Yeah. And that made me sad. I was like, can't believe people are not excited to be pregnant because of everyone else's complaints.
100%.
Like, that's so sad.
I mean, I get it. People need a vent, but there's a difference between venting and that being your whole persona. And I'll also say that I honestly think sometimes people are afraid of jinxing their blessings. Do you know what I mean? Like they hold close their good things and only share their bad. Sometimes
Yeah, but when you're only sharing negative, that
it's a problem.
not only that, it starts becoming your whole life, the negative, because you're only talking about the negative. So it means you're only like dealing with the negative.
The worst. So many of my coworkers over the years would say about their husbands, they'd be like shitting on them and saying all these bad stories. And then they would be like, oh, but I love him. I wouldn't change him for the world. Like,
Really?
really? Yes, I feel like you would. I feel like you're convincing yourself right now that you're happy. It's like blink twice if you need help.
I think it's more like he's really not that bad and just complaining about him. I think that's what it really, really means.
All they're doing is complaining. We talked about this off the episode, but like, I think this is a problem. And I've heard a lot of like therapists, and I'm studying Kabbalah now. I love Kabbalah. I'm obsessed.
Oh, that stuff's so creepy.
Really? No, it's so interesting. I'm really into it. It's all, we'll talk after this.
I only think of Kabbalah reminds me of like,
It's like boo boo.
yeah, but like creepy stuff.
It's not. Oh, I can't wait to change you. Oh, this is gonna be so fun. I already talked about this on a different episode, so I'm not gonna bore all the listeners. But no, so basically the whole concept is that everything is energy. And so what you focus on is what you're gonna get back.
Oh, I totally believe in that.
Yeah. So that was my version of Kabbalah that I was taught. And like this whole concept is that there is no end to the good that the creator or God can give you. Like no end. You're supposed to get all the blessings in every area of your life possible. The only thing stopping you is yourself. You are the only limitation.
I feel it a lot that I'm my biggest and I myself am my biggest enemy.
So what you focus on is a big part of that. You ever notice the people who just seem to have the hardest, craziest life?
Oh my gosh, I have a friend like that.
And you're just at a certain point, you realize they also are really negative, you know?
I thought about that for a while because of the friend of mine who's like that, where her life is just one big shit show, and it's from shit to shit to shit, and like there's just nothing good happening. I don't think she's a negative person.
Interesting.
I really don't. I think she just makes shit decisions.
Different story.
Decisions.
That's a different story though. But I mean, also sometimes, so like the whole point of like the Kabbalah, the way I learned it anyways, was that like Satan or Satan will try to like create you to be in a reactive state. So anxiety, worry, depression, anger, anything that's gonna, you could feel your body like reacting in a negative way to a challenging situation or annoying situation. And what you're supposed to do is just pause. Just pause, and then you're like, what a pleasure. Which is like a huge level.
What a pleasure! What?
What a pleasure that I have this opportunity to grow as a person.
Oh my gosh,
It's a level.
that is like insane.
But if you can get there, if you can get there, then you're like expanding your vessel, expanding yourself. Because what a lot of us don't consider when we pray for things is that we have to be the vessel worthy of what we're asking for. It's not that you can't get it. It's just, are you worthy of what you're asking for? So sometimes God or Satan will put you like through challenging situations to help you evolve. getting back to the Israel thing, for example, like how much unity has come about in the whole Jewish world because of it.
Yes, there was a lot. I think it was a little bit temporary.
Do you? That's really sad to hear, actually, because it was really beautiful.
It was really beautiful. It was really beautiful. And then everyone went back to their own lives.
Yeah.
So when we were displaced in the beginning, um, everyone was like, "Well, come watch your kids. Anything you need to help, any help you need clothes, do you need this, do you need diapers, wipes? There's a whole donation center. Come take whatever you need." And then a couple weeks later, the donation center closed. No one's offering help anymore. It's like it was kind of like that. It wasn't a couple weeks. It was more than that. It was a long time that people did offer. And also I know the story from people who are in hotels. They got tons and tons of donations in the beginning. And then at some point it just kind of ended. Of course, I'm not going to expect that everyone's going to continue donating for the rest of their lives.
Right.
That unity, that like I think it was a little bit temporary.
That's really sad.
And then we went back to dealing with this stupid political in Israel and everyone hating on each other and everyone going on their protests again. And that's what the news is all talking about all over again.
Mm.
The protests. The protests against Bibi, against the government. And it's like we learned nothing from this entire war. And a lot of people have been talking about that now.
Well, good. At least they're talking. Something. Listen, the thing about this whole Kabbalah thing, this is an ideal situation, right? This is, if all went well, sure, yeah, this could happen. This is a huge thing. I mean, like when I was taking the Kabbalah class, like the whole concept of pausing, that takes forever.
You mean pausing like if you're getting mad?
Yeah, to be able to pause in that moment and not react.
I can pause. I can pause.
Yeah.
I can take a deep breath and then I continue being mad.
So that's not, so the pause is not just to continue being mad. It's not just pausing and then
Right. It's to pause and like shift your whole mindset.
you have to practice that before you're in the situation. Because when you're calm and you hear it, you're like, yeah, I could do that.
What do you mean practice that? How do you practice that?
How do you practice it? It's more of like thinking, for example. So a really good example that because the class has like a live class that you get to see as well. So you hear people's questions. So one woman was so relatable. She was like, I relate to this anyways. She was like, but I love getting angry.
Interesting.
She was like, I relate to that. I'm like, sometimes you just like a little
My husband says that about me.
feisty. It just feels good.
Told me. He says, I think you just like to fight.
Someone said that to me in high school, and I've been working on it for years, literally for years. Because I have a fiery personality. And he was like, so this teacher, David Guillaume, he was like, you have to ask yourself, are you being like the creator in this moment? Right? You know you're not when you're in that energy of wanting to fight. And what's more important, having peace with your sister or fighting from a bigger perspective? It's not gonna happen overnight. It can literally take years to work on yourself. I remember I'm 28 now, but when I was 24, I told my mom, I'm like, "Mom, I'm gonna be like super chill and go with the flow." My mom's like,
Even she didn't believe it.
she was like, "In what universe are you chill?"
Yeah, chill.
I am.
Oh.
Now, it took me 4 years.
I remember you as being chill.
No
I
way.
remember you as being super calm and super chill.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Maybe it just depended on who, so maybe I had it in me too all this time.
I'm confused. What were you if you weren't that?
Feisty. I definitely had people say to me like, "Oh, you just like to argue." Okay, so
It's interesting.
I feel like I have multiple personalities.
Everyone has multiple personalities.
I feel like depending on who I talk to, because some people will be like, "Oh, you're really shy, you're really reserved, you're really quiet." And then some people are just like, "You are in what
I
universe?"
think that your vibe is shy, reserved, and quiet. Like, that's what I would guess. But then you start talking and then you get a total different vibe.
Right.
That you're like super friendly and outgoing and just like a kind person. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah, but not the feistiness.
No.
Right. I worked really hard on that.
But feisty is something negative.
It was in the way I was.
Got it. Yeah, I definitely need to work on my reactions when I get mad.
Yeah.
I That's one of the things that I hate. I hate it. I hate that what it does to me.
Well, you hate also, I feel like, let's be real, we hurt the ones we love the most.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. And it's not fair. And they're the ones who need the most respect and care and kindness and patience.
And they give the most to us. They love us. And no, literally to the point where my mom used to say to me when I was younger, because my mom's like, I'm the closest with her of anyone in the whole world, and she would get the worst of me. She got sides of me that probably no one has ever seen before.
Moms are just the best.
She really is. Honestly, God bless her. I turned out okay because of her.
I did.
And but she did tell me, she was like, if you talk to your husband the way you're talking to me, she's like, you're gonna get divorced. 100%. And like part of me not being married at 28, I think is like such a blessing. Like I'm not mad about it at all because I've worked on myself so much.
Now I just get to get an even better guy.
Even better guy, and he's gonna get an even better wife.
That's even better.
Better wife. And
That is even better.
like I'm so proud of who I'm bringing to the relationship.
That's so nice.
But I didn't feel that way when I was younger.
So nice and so sweet.
Yeah. Also, it's different because when I was younger, it was more about the checklist. Like, what can I get from the guy?
Now it's what you can give.
What can I give? And not only that, like with my grandparents having passed on and my dad being like having dementia and like the dynamic is different. My cousins are moved out, my brothers don't live at home. Everything's different. You know, I came from a family that was so big and so closely knit together. And now that it's all kind of just like me and my mom, I kind of realized that the other day. I'm like, oh my God,
That's really scary. It's a scary change, just because that's a huge change.
didn't happen overnight either. And then it's also just thinking like she should live and be well, but it's like, but who do I have when she's gone? Do you know what I mean? Like, because I'm single right now.
Right.
So it's like I don't believe I'm gonna be single forever, but like it is our minds get into these scary thoughts sometimes of like worst case scenario of our lives. And I just think to myself, because of that and because of how I've worked on myself as a person, I'm like, I want to build something for the next generation. Because like this is gonna sound depressing, but like what I experienced was amazing, but it's gone.
It's not depressing because it's really anyone's childhood.
Yeah.
What they experience as a child is gone. I can say the same thing about me, but I think anyone can say that. Like what they experienced as a child, all the siblings living in one place. Like my childhood, literally, my school was destroyed. My mom's moving out of my house. All my siblings live in America, and I live in Israel. Like that whole childhood is gone. But that's just natural way of life.
Right, because none of your siblings besides for Hannah live here. Your mom may end up moving, and we all know Hannah's probably gonna end up moving eventually too.
I hope so. If they all come to Israel. 100%. I told her that would be like my dream that we live in like the same building, and, like neighbors, have our kids grow up together.
I totally could see that happening.
I hope. Obviously, I'll have to move because she would never live in Stanford.
No. But that's yeah, to your point, like that's just kind of how it is. So well, I feel like we got kind of political during this conversation.
I don't know anything about politics.
We shared your experience.
Yeah,
And we shared kind of what we knew. And I think the main takeaway from this is that
it wasn't made up.
it wasn't made up.
It was there. I felt it.
It's okay not to know. And it's okay not to have an opinion.
And sometimes it's better that way than to voice uneducated stuff.
And even if you have an opinion, it's also okay not to say it.
It's true too.
You know, because I also thought that for a while where I'm like, even on my post, I was like, everyone's posts were just talking about Israel, and it was so we all know what's going on, but it was just so hard.
Well, also it was a lot. And honestly, I felt when I see everyone posting who doesn't even live here, I feel like that those posts are just bullshit because you can't like, oh Israel, oh Israel, oh Israel, oh I would never live there.
Right.
And that is what I feel like 99% of the people who are posting, oh Israel, but I'll never live there. And like you didn't experience it, you weren't here, you didn't see nothing. Like what are these like long posts even about?
I think that's a really complicated relationship that all Jews have with Israel. where like everyone feels so connected to it,
But they wouldn't live here.
but they wouldn't live there. You're right. That is a whole other podcast conversation.
It's a big conversation.
Yeah.
Someone said to me the other day, I was walking out of a store and they're like, "Oh, it's so good to see you. Oh, you're so lucky that you live there." I'm like, "I'm so lucky. You can live there. If you really wanted to, you can do it too." It was
Right.
just like such a funny comment, like, "Oh, you're so lucky." I did the same thing anyone else would do. I got on an airplane and I moved.
Well, that's the thing that I've realized about life is that not many people would just get up and do something.
They just post about it on Facebook.
Everyone talks about what they could do or what they would want to do, but most people don't have what it takes. And yeah, like I know with my podcast, we were talking about like right now, it's more of a passion project, right? I'm not really making money from this at all, even though people think I am, which is funny. I've had people be like, "Oh, so how much are you going to pay me to be on?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?
Nothing.
Who do you think I am?"
Yeah.
I mean, God willing, one day maybe, but I think at that point you'd be paying me.
I didn't know people get paid to be a guest.
Girl, I don't know. I'm new. I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl with a mic that I got on Amazon.
That's where it starts. Maybe someday you'll be paying people, but like I didn't even think about people getting paid to be a guest. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Like people are like,
A regular person? I don't think so. But it's like, so I have my podcast, and then God willing, I'm going to have my coffee shop. And I know like both of those things are going to be successful one day. And people are going to have that point where they're going to be like, "Oh, you're so lucky." And it's like, first of all, you can do this too. And second of all, it's not luck, it's work. And no one sees the work. And even if you document the work, people still are going to be like, "Oh, you're so lucky."
it's true. It's for sure true.
And people do the same thing with your relationship too. Like here you are married with 2 kids, and people are probably like, "Oh, you're so lucky." But there was so much.
It's not luck.
There's so much that went into it. You built a relationship. You built a marriage, you built a family. Like there's a lot involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was so good.
It was fun.
We were like, what were we going to talk about? We didn't run out of things. We totally could keep going, but I have this tradition. So the whole basis of this podcast is based on this Hebrew quote, which is "Ezehu Chacham, Halomein Mikol Adam," which means one who is wise is one who learns from everyone. And I really hope y'all learned a lot from this conversation because I learned a lot, and this was really intriguing and interesting. And I feel like we could definitely do it again, but we live in Israel, so next time we'll probably have to do like a Zoom one or something.
Yeah, and people do that. They do podcasts over Zoom.
Yeah, we could figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In case my story gets any more interesting.
Your story is already very interesting. We've literally just brushed the surface.
I feel like there's just sometimes I feel like the people's experiences were like crazy. And so my like little I feel like an ant in this whole huge topic. Like
That's fair. But for anyone who's living in America or hasn't experienced it on any level, your story is crazy. The fact that you drove through the streets, the fact that you were in a bomb shelter for 3 days, the fact that you
yeah, to an American it's like
It sounds
mind
crazy.
blowing.
And the fact that you hear like rockets and missiles all the time, and you're like, yeah, around 9 p.m., that's usually when we hear them go off, like fireworks or like an ambulance going down the street.
They have it almost every year on my birthday. It's really nice. They have personal fireworks.
Literally, that's what I'm saying. And like, you are so calm right now. Whereas, like, if any, think about it. If any American were to hear
My sisters were there. My sisters were in the beginning of May this year, 2024. They were in Sderot for my sister's bridal shower, and there was a rocket that went off, and that was the first time they ever experienced it. They freaked out.
that's what I'm saying.
They really freaked out. They're like, "What are you doing here? Why do you live in this reality? Just move back to America."
Everyone's built different. So, what's your lesson or favorite quote that you want to share?
You put me on the spot like that.
100% I could put you on the spot. I do that with all my guests. Could be anything.
My biggest lesson: you're not safe anywhere.
Ooh. I love that.
But that's really how I felt. Like I was felt really unsafe in Israel, and everyone's like, "Why don't you go home to the States to your mom?" I'm like, "Do you see what's happening in America? Like it's terrifying there too."
This is on such a different level that I feel connected to that quote. But like,
Bloody.
But I really connect with that because you're thinking on like a life level in terms of like hatred and like the lives of you and your family.
Yeah.
I was thinking about corporate America.
But that's true too.
For I went straight to college like I told you, and then had my bachelor's when I was 20. So I've been working in corporate America for the past 8 years. And I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, and so I've learned a lot from them, and I was always inspired by them, but it's like I can't do that. That's them. You have to be built for it, right? I was like, I want my paycheck every 2 weeks. I want my 401k, my health insurance.
All the stuff they feed you.
Yeah, I like the 9 to 5 coming home and then I have my weekends and not have the big burdens of a business. But the thing is you can lose your job any moment. You're not secure. The economy can shift and
You can lose everything in 3 seconds.
everything. And like you are told what your value is. And it doesn't matter how hard you work. I mean, in an ideal situation, you work in an environment where they reward you, but the reality for most people is that you're given a basic salary with almost no raises and you get free donuts and free t-shirts and
A thumbs up.
if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you get a thumbs up. But most of the time they make it like, oh, we really could be doing better.
Yeah, see, American isn't as dreamy as it seems to be.
You know, Shoshana, who I want to get on here too. Shoshana, Devorah's friend, my cousin. She uh she came here from Israel. A lot of Israelis come here to like make money. Because it's harder to make money in Israel.
We're the land of gold.
Right. And they see it from TV too, because TV makes America out to be this amazing thing. And I thought she was so funny. She was like, TV and like the movies, they made America seem to be like so amazing. Like you're just swimming in money. She's like, it's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
It is bullshit. But there is potential. Anyone could make money. You just have to know how to make it work.
But it doesn't have to do with America.
You can do it anywhere. That's true.
You can do it anywhere. Someone who is good at making money can make money anywhere. That has nothing to do with, oh, America, the land of the great.
Right.
That's just not true.
Right. That's true.
Just here, you have a really nice house and a really nice car.
You're not safe anywhere.
You're not safe anywhere.
But you can be safe anywhere. You can be, technically. You can make it safe.
Safe in your own home. Well, I was going to say you're safe in your own home, but not even that. From my experience, you're not even safe in your own home. Mind blowing. It's mind blowing. It's like, where do you freaking go?
That hurts your brain right there.
It really hurts you. It really hurts.
So I think then you just have to take it day by day.
You know what I felt like after we came back to Stero, like 5 months later, and I was like walking around at night, and like it was so murky. Like they were right here. They were literally right there on my walk that I go with my dog, with my kids. They were on that same street. And the videos are in those same places. It's like someone went through your underwear drawer. Like it's so
Yeah, that's a really good analogy.
comfortable and irky, like they just went into your personal space and just ruined it.
Yeah, and you'll never feel safe the same way again.
Yeah. Like I even today, like I just walk around the city and I'm like, oh my gosh, that house is so easy to just go right into. Oh my gosh, that house is really close to the street. And it's really scary. It's really scary. All these months later, and I don't walk around the city and I feel totally safe. Not at all. I didn't leave my house for a very long time with my kids after we went back. Also because of the sirens and there's rockets at all hours of the day, but sorry, there's not rockets all the time, but the rockets that they do send are super random hours and you can't prepare for it. And it just scares me to be outside with my kids when there's sirens. With 7 seconds to run, you can't even get one kid out of a stroller.
Yeah, people don't understand this, and people don't understand why people choose to live in Israel. So why do you? I know you're not safe anywhere, but
Why did I come to Israel? Because I felt a part of something. And I really need to feel a part of something here. I feel like in America, you're nothing. You're not a part of anything. You can literally just live in a house and no one will know you exist. And you're not part of a community, you're not part of a nation, you're not part of a country. You're nothing.
yeah.
In Israel, even if you don't leave your house, even if you don't have a lot of friends, you're still part of a nation. You're in the land that you belong to, that belongs to you. So you're still like you still feel Shabbat, you still feel the Chagim, you still feel all that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's a different level in Israel. It's so great.
You feel a part of something.
Yeah, I'll never
Here, you're literally nothing.
I'll never forget. Like I was in Sfat when I was in Israel, and I'll never forget like good sirens. Before,
Oh, the songs before Shabbat.
like an hour beforehand, there's like the vans that go through, and like for the most part, there's no cars going, which you don't see in America. America, you're the random Jews all in black walking with your little safety belt so that you don't get hit by a car. And I just remember like the apartments and hearing the singing,
It's beautiful.
feeling isn't because like on Shabbos, there's a feeling that permeates your house, but in Israel, it permeates the land.
Yeah.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Like
It's beautiful.
it was like 9 years ago, but I remember so clearly how it felt. And you're right. It's worth fighting for.
That's why. That's why I'm in Israel. That's why I stayed in Israel. I needed it. I really needed it. My soul needed it. Needs it.
Yeah.
Even today.
I love that. It's really beautiful.
That's my answer to all the millions of Israelis. Like, what are you doing here? Go back to America. Everything's here so expensive, and everyone's always telling me to go back to America.
Meanwhile, all the Israelis here are trying to get all the Americans to come back to Israel. Oh, 100%. They're like, would you ever? Well, maybe that's just the single guys.
Checking to see is there potential over there?
Because they all want to go back. And so they're like, would you move to Israel?
Would you?
I don't know.
If you met a guy who wanted to live in Israel, would you move?
I don't know.
It's a good response. At least it's not a no.
It's not a no. I just don't know. The only thing holding me back is it would be really, really hard for me to be that far away from my mom.
She would definitely come.
Oh, my mom talks about Israel all the time. She talks about like Mashiach, and she was like, "I'm leaving all you behind. I'll be the first draft. Let's go."
I wonder your mom. I haven't seen your mom in so long. I'm so curious to talk to her, see what she's like nowadays.
She's exactly the same, and she hasn't aged at all. I'll show you a picture when we're off the podcast. She looks exactly the same. It's really great for me.
It's awesome for her.
Yeah, for her too, right? But also for me because, genetics.
Yeah.
And I'm still single, so I always want to see what the mom looks like. My mom looks great.
This was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. This was great. You guys, another wonderful episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you did not watch it and you're interested in watching it, you can find the video on Spotify or YouTube. And if you are not already subscribed, what are you doing with your life? Subscribe.
That's a good one.
Trying to grow my YouTube following here. So subscribe on YouTube and really anywhere would be helpful. And the most important thing is share with a friend. So thank you guys for watching and listening. And I hope you guys have a great week. Let's get it. Let's go.